everybody. I'm Marcos.
And I'm Kirsten.
And this is the Minnesota Real Estate Investing Podcast.
Join us every week as we discuss real estate investing in the land of 10,000 lakes.
Argentina, vamos, vamos.
I seriously am wondering how long in Argentina they're going to be like celebrating.
Like probably for 30 years.
Yeah. No, but like they took days off work. Like they got to get tired at some point.
Yeah, I think now they're actually like doing bad stuff.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, that comes to point.
Welcome everyone to a new episode of our podcast. Today we're here at home with Kirsten and our dog Risa, who's down here. You can't see her. It's snowing pretty hard outside. It's gonna be a blizzard, so we decided to just record at home, and we're gonna talk about something fun, like some stories we had and some recommendations for house hacking. Yeah.
House hacking strategies here in Minnesota. So we hope you enjoy this episode and leave us some comments. We want to know what you guys are thinking about the podcast. And yeah, just send us a message, whatever. We want to get some feedback. So
yeah, write comments. If you're on YouTube, give it a like, subscribe, and share it with everyone. That being said,
let's get into the video or the podcast. Let's get into this episode.
Exactly.
Oh, and by the way, if you hear something like, I have this like stress ball thing that maybe will help me with my, anxious.
Show it to the camera.
I'm always like, being weird, like doing weird twitches and stuff. So I thought I'd try this.
Okay, so we said we're gonna talk about house hacking, but the first thing that I want to make sure that everyone understands is what is house hacking, because there are different ways to do it. So what is house hacking? Basically is using the house that you live in to generate some sort of income or profit. It could be by renting out part of your house, renting out another unit. It could be by buying a house that needs fixing, living there 2 years and then move on to sell it and move to another house. That's another way to house hacking. It's basically using your house as an income generation asset.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
No, I'm trying to think if there's something I want to add to that. I think mostly people think of house hacking as like living in a duplex and renting out one of the units, which is, of course, a great way to house hack. And
we have done that.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can talk a little bit about our experience with house hacking. Yeah, we bought a duplex in Northeast Minneapolis in 2018.
Yeah, December 29th, 2018.
Oh, wow.
While it was snowing.
Almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We moved in there, and that was our plan, right? To find a duplex. When we had our daughter, we decided to start investing, and we sold our first home to be able to do this. We moved first to... We moved like 3 times that year. Poor little girl. Rumi was 6 months old in the first move, and then she just turned 1 year old when we moved into the duplex. So, and yeah, we were renting, we were doing a bunch of stuff. So, it's something that you have to sacrifice a little bit of comfort to do, but the payoff is great. Honestly,
maybe, but maybe not always.
It depends on the duplex.
Yeah, with a duplex, yeah, depends on how you like to live. But for us, it was definitely a sacrifice because it was smaller.
No, it was actually bigger.
You're right. It was bigger than. It felt smaller because of it was bigger by about a couple hundred square feet, yes. Actually, but it felt smaller to me because of the layout.
Yeah.
Which obviously the layout of a home makes a huge difference on how the size it feels. Even if it's technically bigger, it felt smaller because the main living level, only had 2 bedrooms and, a small hallway, small kitchen, small living room. Didn't have vaulted ceilings and stuff like our other place.
It felt short, even though it could have had vaulted ceilings too, but that's another thing. It was like if you see it from the front, it was a 1-story side-by-side duplex.
Great duplex.
It was an amazing duplex, built in the 60s, so it wasn't as old as other
it was
duplexes.
a rare find. It's so funny thinking back then because we bought it for, I think, $403,000.
$403,000.
And we were like, oh, this is so much, but it cash flowed really well. You're all thinking probably like, why'd you sell it? Well, that's a story for another time. But yeah, like it was really good. We made it nice. We lived on one side, rented out the other, and we didn't pay a mortgage. We actually cash flowed, didn't we?
Yeah,
$200, I think.
Yeah, so when we were living there, we were cash flowing. No, we weren't cash flowing.
No.
We
paid $200.
No, we only paid utilities.
Okay, so we were breaking even.
Yeah, we were breaking even with one side, which meant that by the time that we got out of there, we were going to cash flow tremendously. Then, you have to account for increases in taxes and insurance. That's part of the reason why we ended up selling it. Again, that's a story for another day. But those do go up. This duplex was in northeast Minneapolis, in a super residential area of northeast.
It was in Waite Park.
Waite Park, yeah, right across the park. We loved living there, honestly. With the time that we were there, she didn't, evidently. I loved it.
I mean, it wasn't horrible, but I didn't love it.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it because we were right across the street from a park. We just crossed the street and went sledding with our daughter and there
were some good memories made.
Yeah, and in the back, we were lucky that there was like this slope in the back. So
it was like a forest in our backyard.
Yeah, so we were in the middle of the city, and it felt like we were in the suburbs. So that's why I loved it.
That's sidetracking, though. We're talking about house hacking.
Yes, you're right. House hacking. So talking about the story of the duplex, talking about the numbers and all that stuff.
So I think our house hack, what we did was actually ideal.
Yes.
It was an ideal house hack situation. Like we said, it paid off all our mortgage, so we were living for free. And we are also able to create equity in the property. So it had an unfinished basement on the side that we were living on. So we added a bedroom and a bathroom to that side and finished the basement. And then on the other side, we actually added a bedroom because it was just an open basement. Mm-hmm. So we were able to rent it out for more.
Yes. It already had 3 egress windows. So we created a closet and put up a wall. So one of those egress windows would become part of the bedroom in the basement. And then, we had to fix up quite a few things with sheetrock and stuff. That was pretty simple. Nothing too major. We gutted
the bathroom on our side.
I'm talking about the side that we ended up renting.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe how much we got for it when we were renting, honestly. That side.
Well, I mean, we looked at the comps and we were able to rent it for $2,200.
Yeah.
It was nice. I mean, side-by-sides are much better than up-down duplexes.
Yeah.
So, that's the ideal. It does feel more like a single-family home. It's more private. And you can rent it for more.
Yeah. Not only that, but I think that we also were able to rent it for more because we had a backyard. We took before we rented it, while the tenants were there and we told them that was going to happen, we put up a fence, privacy fence, and we divided the yard in 2. So it's a side-by-side. Each side has its own backyard and deck.
Yeah, deck. And then our neighbor helped us move part of the deck from the other side that the previous owners had and move it over to our side.
Yeah, so
it was a great neighbor there. We used to have
Chuck.
Yeah.
We love you. And it was a deck. How long was it?
It was such a long deck. So I mean, I don't know. It was 20 feet long or something.
Yeah, something like. So we just cut in
2 pieces.
Yeah, it had 2 pieces. We cut in. We realized, thanks to Chuck, we realized we could cut it in half because we were going to do something different in our side. But we're like, oh, there you go. Problem solved. Like,
Yeah.
boom, we just
Each
moved
side
it.
gets their same.
Yeah. So
Yeah, the backyard was nice there too. So yeah, I mean, in the end of the day, we rented that site out for $2,200, and then on the side that we were living on when we moved, we were able to rent it out for $2,100.
$2,150.
$2,150 because there wasn't a dishwasher.
There wasn't a dishwasher, and it wasn't as updated. The kitchen was still, I think, original.
Yeah, and then there was a wall between the kitchen and the living room.
Yeah. And the other side that was more expensive had a dishwasher, brand new kitchen, cabinets, and it had that. It had like an island instead of a wall, but it still was open concept. So
yeah,
that's part of the reason why too. The layout was a little bit different to, one side, that the more expensive side had a double door leading to the backyard, and little differences, like not both sides were, since one side was completely done by the previous owners, and then when we finished the basement and worked on our bathroom upstairs, we added a bathroom to our
right.
basement ourselves.
Yeah, we did a lot of work on that ourselves, which though is, another advantage of house hacking is you can do a lot of the work yourself because you're living there.
You're a homeowner, so being a homeowner, you don't necessarily need to, if you have the skills, that's what I'm trying to say, if you have the skills to do it, it's much cheaper to spend a few weekends getting it done.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I think house hacking is a great way to get into real estate investing.
Definitely.
Because it allows you to save money and like kind of just get a feel of what it's like to be a landlord, and you can kind of do some DIY projects so you know what it takes and all this. Like, you don't have to, but you can. So yeah.
Yeah, that helped us a lot. It also helped us. We had great tenants, honestly. When I think about it, we had great tenants. And even with great tenants, sometimes it was a little bit hard, the management side of the whole house hacking thing. And that's what, at least for me, made it so now every time that we invest in a property, we put into the numbers management and leasing. We could do it ourselves, but we have a team at VSM.
But do you think I wouldn't recommend using property management if you live on one side, though. So you could. That is one of the lessons we learned, is you have to have really strong boundaries when you're house hacking. Like, do not let your tenants think that they're your best friend or something. It gets awkward sometimes, but you have to go by your lease and enforce those rules, because otherwise, if you don't, they will start taking advantage of you.
Yeah.
So
if it's in the lease, make sure that you're doing everything that's in the lease. If in the lease it says that they are gonna put salt in their stairs during the winter, for example, make sure that you never put salt on their stairs and they buy their own salt. To give you a little example, if the lease says that they are supposed to shovel something in the snow or do some yard work, never do it for them. Okay? And if there's a penalty for not doing something like that, enforce that as well. I mean, that's why the list is there. If there's a problem, you go back to, okay, what does the list say? Is it ambiguous about it? Well, then we can talk about it and then put it in writing again, like do an amendment to the lease. But if it's specific in the lease, do what it says there.
And I guess that is the benefit of property management. They have a lease already written and everything. I don't know how it would be though, like living next door. Like, would you tell them that you're the owner or not? It would be nice to have that separation to keep those boundaries, but that's up to you to think about how that would feel. Otherwise, we wrote a pretty damn good lease. Yes. So we're willing to, give that to anyone who wants to work with us. We'll just give it to you because
Mm-hmm.
we worked on it really hard and we still have it. So even though we use property management now,
probably we need to update it a little bit, honestly, because new
but it's a good place to
regulations.
start.
But it's a good place to start, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, I remember when I first moved to Minnesota, when we rented the duplex in Uptown, or the lease that we signed there was like 1 page.
I know.
And I was like, oh, sure, that's fine. Oh, things are done differently in the United States, because in Buenos Aires, it's a whole process. And then when I became a landlord myself, I'm like, oh, I would never do that.
Yeah. They were good people, though.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So we already went over the duplex, live on one side, rent the other. Pretty straightforward. You live rent-free. Rent-free. You live rent-free or mortgage-free. I mean,
yeah,
everything is paid for. Hopefully, we set up a goal for that, though, that it had to be $500 or less that had to come out of our pocket to pay the mortgage. So if you set up goals like that, you see what you want your budget to be, and then you find the right house for you. We could have bought much cheaper properties, actually.
Yeah, but I'm picky.
Well, and we also had our daughter, and she was, when we started looking, she was like 6 months old. So we wanted to have a house that was, even though it needed work, that it was good enough so we would feel comfortable with the baby. And it all depends on your situation. If you're in that situation, you're probably going to want something, you're going to want to pay a little bit more. If you're by yourself, I mean, I always say if I was if it was just me and myself, I would live in an attic or a basement. I don't mind, and then rent the rest of the house out or the units. But well.
So yeah, I think that's our house hacking story. So let's move into other house hacking strategies that you can do if you would like to start house hacking here in Minnesota.
Okay.
So other strategies, there's the side-by-side, up-down, duplex, Obviously, you can live in a fourplex or any multifamily building.
Yeah.
If you're a single person, that's a great strategy because you can probably cash flow living there.
One note that I want to make sure that people understand, in order for it to make sense for you to house hack properly, and when we're talking about the strategy of renting out another unit or other units, it has to be 4 units or less because that's considered residential multifamily. So single family, duplex, triplex, and fourplex. Then when it starts being 5 units or more, that's commercial. So it's a different type of loan, different types of requirements. What we're talking about too, the strategy is to try to put as little money as you can down. If you have an FHA, you can put as little as 3.5%. Sometimes a lender is going to ask you for a multifamily. The lender is going to ask you to put 10, 15, maybe even 20% anyways, like a commercial loan. But the best strategy is to try to put as little as possible, as long as numbers work too, because what you want to make sure that happens when you move out of that house, even though you're house hacking and maybe you have, like we had, that $500 cap on what we wanted to pay for the mortgage itself. When you move out of it, you need to make sure that it's cash flowing and it's making you money because that's what you bought it for. And
yes,
if I had to do it all over again, I would start with a fourplex and live in 1 unit, house hack, then move on to a duplex, maybe another fourplex. I would have to talk to what underwriting says with
yeah, sometimes they don't let you move from multifamily property to multifamily property.
Yeah, or the same multifamily property. So if you live in 4 units and then you move to a 2-unit building, underwriting sees it as an advance in your um, living situation. And if you go from a duplex to a single family home, then good thing that I put down this finger instead of the other one. If you go from a duplex to a single family home, they like that much better than if you go from a single family home to a duplex. So it doesn't make sense to me as an investor. They wouldn't have to care about that kind of thing. If you can pay your mortgage, that should be fine if you have a good credit score and all the things they look. But that's the way it is. That's the way we have experienced. Some clients of us have experienced the same situation where they told them things like that. Even when you're moving from single family to single family, if you're keeping it as a rental, the single family that you're moving to, they want it to be more expensive or have some sort of reason for it. So yeah, now.
Good points. Yeah.
Another house hacking strategy that you can apply in any type of house, really, like if you have extra bedrooms that you're not using, basically, in a single family home or multi-family home, residential, you can rent by the room. You can have roommates. I know, well, Daniel Degollado and Mari Ferrusquia, we had them in one of our podcasts. They bought their house and they have every single room rented as a short-term rental, right?
Sort of like midterm, I think. Yeah.
Sort of midterm, yes. So there's not just one way to do that even. You can do it long-term, short-term. I mean, you can run an Airbnb from a duplex, if you're living on one side, it would be much easier too. The possibilities are really endless. I mean, it just depends on how much work you want to do with it. You can sign a lease for 12 months. You have for sure, as long as your tenant pays, but, they're going to pay for sure. But you can do an Airbnb. You can rent by the room, do a short-term rental, by the room, a mid-term rental, many different things. So if you buy a single-family home and you think about house hacking to live rent-free or even make some money, well, maybe you can charge, I don't know, depending on the area, $700-800 per room. Some areas even $1,000. I mean, I'm not even kidding. I would say Minneapolis probably is gonna be more $800-900.
Because what I've heard is that with midterm rentals, obviously it's going to be more than a long-term rental, and probably not quite as much as a short-term rental. But the people who are using midterm rentals expect the prices to be higher. Yeah. So you can charge more, especially if you're gonna make it look nice and have it be a comfortable living situation. So
at the same time, a midterm or short-term rental, it's more expensive because you're providing a lot of amenities. So I don't know, for little things like toilet paper, towels, sometimes even like some food or something like that. It just depends on how you go about your midterm and short-term rental, especially if you're living there. So, and then...
So cold.
But
it's making me yawn because I'm cold. So one of the best cities to house hack in is probably Minneapolis.
I would say so.
Yeah, just because of the opportunities you have there to create different units and different ways to house hack. So, and there's obviously more duplexes available. And they're more lenient with what you can do to create more units.
Exactly. So
surprisingly. Sorry, I interrupted you.
So one of the things that Minneapolis has is, we talked about it before too, and I can never remember the name. I think it's like 2040 Minneapolis program, something like that. Basically, the name doesn't matter. What matters is what you can do with it, which is in any single family residential zone lot, you can have up to 3 units without having to go through the process of changing the zoning. What does this mean? You buy a single family home that you can put, I don't know, let's say it's a 2-story single family home with a basement. Me as a guy, I would live in the basement because it would be the cheapest unit. With family or with a partner, probably I would choose the main floor. But so you can separate the basement as a different unit, the main floor, and the upper floor. You have a triplex basically in what it was a single family home. The reason that you would do something like that in the first place is because a single family home is cheaper than a multi-family home.
So you're going to cash flow.
So
way better.
Way better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they don't make you, do you know, they don't make you convert it even though you're renting out the unit separately? Because sometimes they do require that each unit is metered separately.
Yeah, I think they do require if you actually convert the single family.
Yeah.
However, with house hacking, you can be...
If you're living there.
If you're living there, exactly. And we're talking about house hacking specifically. If you are living there. So when you move out, that's a different story. Okay? But while you're living there, you can pay for all utilities, charge extra for the rent. So let's say that for the basement, let's say the basement, right? You would charge normally 1,000, maybe $1,100 for a one-bedroom unit that's in the lower level. Well, since they're not paying utilities, maybe you charge them $1,400 instead a month. So, or you do the calculations to add in what it would cost to pay for water, electricity, gas, and all that.
Mm-hmm. Or you can do a short-term rental, which you can only have one short-term rental in Minneapolis. We talked about that with Jenny.
You can have only one short-term rental in Minneapolis other than your house.
Okay, so you could do your house and you could also get another one?
Yes.
All right, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, then there's ADUs that you can do in Minneapolis. So not even just making units within your house, but if you have a big enough lot or a detached garage, you can create an ADU there and rent that out. So even just on your one house, you could have potentially 3 extra income producing units.
You have to be careful and always consult with the city, of course. Before you do anything, before you start the work, consult with the city. Make sure. My advice would be play dumb. Ask a bunch of questions, and sometimes they don't give you the answer, unfortunately. They
have information online too, and I've seen other people have made YouTube videos about it. Actually, I think I saw, or somewhere, at least a blog or something. You can look out there, and it's definitely important to talk to people who have done that and see what hurdles they had to jump through, and especially with an ADU, because those are a little more complicated.
ADU gets complicated. We did a lot of research for a client about ADUs in the city of Crystal, and there are lots of requirements for that. And it depends on what type of ADU you're having too, because for an ADU, if you're converting the basement, because in Crystal, the city of Crystal, you can do that. You can convert, for example, the basement into an ADU, and it's a completely separate unit. But there are really specific things that you have to follow in order to make that into an actual ADU. And then if you're going the route of creating another unit completely separate from the house, whether you're using that garage or building from scratch because your lot is big, they have different rules for that too. You have to get the sewer out there. You have to get electrical. If I remember correctly, all the utilities need to be connected to the main house. So with ADUs, it wouldn't be a separate unit. Or more like a non-conforming multifamily, whether it is non-conforming duplex or triplex, whatever. It would be almost exclusively for house hacking, honestly. That's when you get the best return on investment when you are doing ADUs.
Yeah.
At least in my experience in Crystal, again, I haven't.
Crystal was one of the more lenient cities, though.
Yeah, Crystal is a great city to invest for rentals. The licensing department, everyone's great there.
Yeah, and we've looked into ADUs in Plymouth.
Mm-hmm. It's a little bit more complicated there.
More complicated, and you can't rent out to people who aren't immediate family.
Yes.
Is what they told us.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, and I don't remember what it was for short-term rentals, but it was more complicated there. And what else? We looked into, I think Mound is similar to Crystal. They're more lenient.
I think that Mound doesn't have any rules. Last time I checked,
they might not even have any rules.
Yeah. Like, honestly, it varies so much from city to city. You go to St. Paul and it's super strict with everything you have to do. You have to follow all the code, like, to a T. Otherwise, the city is going to be on you. Minneapolis, St. Louis Park, Richfield.
Richfield might be more strict.
Yeah, those are more strict cities.
Yeah.
The thing about Minneapolis is that they're trying to solve the housing crisis that they have. So that's why they are allowing people to do this kind of thing, and investors specifically to do that kind of thing where you can have up to 3 units in a single family zone dwelling, because they need more housing. Mm-hmm. So when you're trying to solve that, that's one way to do it. I mean,
yeah. So we found a house, I think it was last fall. Not 2022, but 2021. It had basically 2 units in it, and it was in Crystal. And this is a good example of, if you find something that already has like the plumbing and like the layout set up for like as a duplex, it would be a perfect house hacking home. And these types of homes are out there. Actually, there's quite a few of them. So this one had a unit in the basement. It was like a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, and it was easily closed off from the other side of the house. You could get in to a completely separate unit in the upstairs. And with that one, if you wanted to rent it out separately, like turn it into a sort of a duplex, I think what you could do in Crystal is not zone it as multifamily. You would just get the ADU. Mm-hmm. But I think those types of homes are the best for house hacking, because you can cash flow on those actually, or at break even, where the price is now on a duplex. I don't know if you would really even be able to break even anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's what we recommend. Like, we've helped some of our clients look at that, and yeah, like I was going to talk about too, like the searches that I actually have a house hacking search on the MLS, and it's easy to find because you just put in like mother-in-law suite or non-conforming duplex in the remarks, and it's easy to find these homes that are almost, some of them are like basically duplexes, but they're just non-conforming. So I think for house hacking, those are perfect. And I find them all the time. We just don't have too many clients who are house hacking. And I'm like, oh, this would be great for somebody.
And we're not going to house hack right now, so.
Or ever again.
Or ever again.
You say that like one day we will. No, with kids, it's not for us. It's not for us with older kids. But, I think.
I wouldn't be opposed to it, but I know that you wouldn't be happy, so.
I would. No, you know what? That's another strategy is I would get our, dream home. And then we have, like, a second guest house or something that we could short-term rental. Like, if we were in a city that allowed that, I would do something like that for sure. That's
something that we thought about, having that separate guest house, maybe a barn type thing. I don't know. We had many ideas about it, and you can do a high-end short-term rental. Who knows? Depending on the city, maybe you have 100% occupancy rate. So
yeah, I think a lot of people do that. I mean, I looked, and there's a lot of people that do that, or they rent out their basement You can short-term rental just a room. You don't even have to have a whole separate unit. Some people don't mind staying, like we were talking about with Danya and Madi, like, staying in a room in your basement or something. So all the ideas are out there.
Yeah, it's just about which one fits what you want to do better or what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
So those are ideas that we have. Maybe we forgot about something. If we did, and you can think about more ideas for house hacking or tips, write them in the comments. We'll be happy to hear and have a conversation about it.
So thank you everyone for listening, and we hope you all have a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And we will see you next week.
Bye. Feliz Navidad. Listening to today's episode. We hope you enjoyed it and took some valuable information out of it. If you want to reach out to us with comments or questions, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and our website, milagrohomesre.com.